Yeah, Coach, just wanted to have you just give your initial thoughts to being a 6 seed and being in your first NCAA tournament as a head coach.
Yeah, just excited, regardless of what seed we got. Excited. I've always, like probably most people that are into sports, just been a huge fan of March Madness my whole life as a kid and even an adult. So to be able to be a part of it, kind of surreal, to be honest with you, to kind of hear our name called on the show and be able to just be a part of it. And so, like that we're in Denver. Like the fact that we are, close to home. I think that's certainly where I kind of had my eye. So that was something that I was happy about.
I also wanted to ask you, do you have any familiarity with VCU at all at this point, or are they one of those teams that you didn't have much familiarity with?
Don't know a ton about them, other than the fact, what I've learned here quickly. Good defensive team. They're a team that, tries to turn people over. They do a good job on the offensive glass as well. I know they got a good point guard. He was in the portal. We looked at him a little bit. Good couple good friends of mine coach in that league. John Linehan coached in that league last year. So there is a certain level of familiarity, within our staff that we'll definitely lean on.
All right, we'll go with Owen, John, Mitch, and then Sean.
Hey, Coach. Been a while since BYU has won a game in the tournament. What kind of gives you the confidence that this team can make a run?
Just the guys we have in our locker room, the confidence that they have, and just how we've been playing. We've been, we feel like we've been one of the best teams in the country, quite frankly, over the last, couple, whatever it is, 30 days where, we've beaten a lot of good basketball teams, and that's the great thing about playing in the Big 12 is, night in, night out, you're playing against some of the best teams in the country. So we feel like we're battle-tested. We feel like we've been through a lot. We have a lot of reference points, and we feel like just the momentum that we've had, is slowed down against Houston. Give them credit. They outplayed us. We did not play a good basketball game in that particular game, but prior to that, the confidence that our guys have been playing with is something that we'll rely on.
All right, John, Mitch, and then Sean.
Kellen, what's the status for Cannon Catchings going into the tournament? Is he available?
He's still day to day. Worked out, today. So we're kind of trying to, move him along. And so we're, like any injury we have here, we try to do what's best for the athlete, and we're in constant communication with how he's feeling with him and with our training staff, and that's where things lie with him.
Kevin, who are some mentors or maybe individuals you'll turn to maybe for some advice in navigating the NCAA tournament?
That's a good question. I've thought about it. I'm a little bit hesitant, honestly, to try to get too much advice. I think I try really hard not to overthink things. Try to keep things pretty simple, keep a clear mind. That kind of helps me. That's how I sort of operate. So, leaning on guys within our own staff that have been in the tournament, leaning on guys, Trev and Nell, this will be his third time playing in the tournament, so kind of picking the brains of our players. But there's certain coaches, that I'll reach out to, but be really selective with how much I want to talk about, other people's experience, and kind of just try not to overthink things. I think you make a mistake when you overthink things.
And then just wanted to ask you, how do you plan to maybe approach practices this week while also keeping your guys rested and ready for a potential tournament run?
We've had a good rhythm, in terms of how we prepare. We feel like our systems that we have in place at this point are pretty good. So we're going to rely on, how we've done things. I think our guys have really bought into just the rhythm of how we prepare for a game, and that's how we'll continue to operate.
All right, Sean, then Darnell.
Yeah, Coach, you touched on something last week that I thought was pretty interesting, and I kind of wanted to follow up now that you've got the seed and the selection and you've gone through Selection Sunday. You mentioned how you had always kind of looked forward to the NCAA tournament from afar when you were in the NBA. So what was sort of this, even beyond learning your fate, your destination and all that, what was kind of this day like when you woke up in the morning, kind of waiting around for the selection show? Like, I got to imagine you had a pretty good feeling you'd be in. obviously with the numbers and the metrics and all that. But what was kind of that feeling like? Was it what you imagined?
Yeah, I think just excitement. It's just, and I don't know, when I made that statement, I don't know if it was just like, hey, I can't wait for Selection Sunday per se, but just I think what makes this such a unique thing, I think most people would say this, is just the one and done nature of it. It's just so unique in that regard. So, as we get closer to game time and just understanding that, that's what you're playing for. You're playing for everything, on that night. And so that's a really unique thing. I think that's what makes this tournament so fun. But as far as today goes, man, just a lot of anxiousness, wanting to know who we were going to play, where we were going to play them. I can't wait to go start watching film on VCU. I've already got a bunch of reports from our analytics guy kind of painting the picture for me. So I think just a general level of excitement is how I would kind of describe the day.
Kevin, you talked about how you wanted your guys to have a level of focus, a higher level of focus for championship basketball. Do you feel like the Houston game gave them that, or is there anything else that you're planning on doing to get them to recognize?
I think one thing I try to do anyway is just address the elephant in the room. I try to be as honest as I can with our players to try to get ahead of things. And so with that level of focus that I talked about after the Houston game, like I'll continue to beat that drum and just talk about, like I said, after that game, everything just becomes harder when all the chips are in the middle. Everything that you do is harder. Every pass you make is harder to make. Every screen is harder to get through and things like that. And that's the level of focus and competition that I want our guys to be able to wrap their head around. So I don't think it'll be like, hey, we said this after the Houston game, we're good. I think it'll be constant reminders as we prepare, for this game.
All right, we'll go with Matt, and then we'll finish with Jake.
Coach, that Houston team is obviously a great defensive team, and VCU statistically is really good defensively. When you go back and look at that tape from the Houston loss, is there anything that sticks out on how you can attack some of these really aggressive defenses?
First of all, Houston's unique. Like Iowa State was a really good defensive team. Arizona's a really good defensive team. You can go down the list, and so we've been able to, have some big nights against some of the best defensive teams in the country. I think Houston's in kind of a class of their own, honestly. So I'd have to I got to really study how VCU is a good defensive team and figure out what the commonalities are. As it relates to the Houston game, I think that probably the number one thing is just the carelessness with the ball. We gotta make sure that we're taking care of that basketball, not being loose with it. That's kind of where we got in a little bit of trouble in that game, and then just continuing trying to make simple plays. That was kind of our message going into that Houston game. We got away from it a little bit. But at the same time, and this is no dig on Houston, like I said, I think they're the best defensive team in the country, so I'm not trying to duck that by any stretch. However, we missed a lot of wide open shots that we normally make, and give them credit because, and some of them they did make us miss with some of their multiple efforts, but some of them, we miss shots. How many times all year have we thrown a ball up there and you get two wedgies in a row? You know what I mean? So I don't know what to say about that. I don't know if that was Houston's defense on those particular ones. But again, they had two games against us where they, stopped us better than anybody in the country. So I think they're really unique, and we look forward to the challenge of scoring against a good VCU defense.
Hey, Coach, you talked about the one-and-done nature of this tournament. What are you thinking lineup-wise, rotation-wise? Are you going to alter that at all?
Like I said, I haven't watched anything on VCU, so I'm like, in general, I'm a let's do what we do at an extremely high level guy. So it'd take a lot for me to get away from what we do, but at the same time, I think one of the things that's made our team unique this year is we've been able to adapt, no matter how teams are trying to play us or who they have out there. That's been the beauty of kind of this 10-man rotation on a given night. Certain matchups are better than others, and styles of play are better than others. Usually that kind of takes place as the game unfolds as opposed to trying to overthink it and try to get too cute going into a game by changing a bunch of things to start.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Coach. We'll have Trevor Nell up next.
All right. Thanks, guys.